Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Another beautiful day in the trading world, and of course in the real world too. Obviously depends on where you're located, but it's nice and warm here where I'm at, regardless of that fact. Bitcoin, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look here at Bitcoin dominance, possibly even some futures, and just generally speaking, seeing what the dollar index tells us as well, and just, what's the overall state of the nation here. We kind of already know, but we're going to kind of drive a few things home too with some back-end data from High Block Capital, of course, and, kind of just look at liquidation levels and some important things that you may not be able to see on traditional charts. Okay, so we'll take a look at that and much more. Quick note, we are growing our Twitter community. Thank you so much to everyone who's joining and coming on over to help us out. We're also helping you out, of course, as well with a free month membership giveaway. We do this weekly at this point here, just to kind of help, kind of pay it forward, if you will, because we had some awesome members over the years, and I tell you what, it's been a very rewarding experience. But in truth, help us help you. Thank you so much for that. We do greatly appreciate it. Looks like Crypto for Change, Chacaron, and of course Stewie D. These are the three members this week that were able to receive that benefit. So again, direct message us for interest in that, and obviously like, retweet, and all that good stuff here moving forward. If you are interested in the next one, that should be out here soon. All right, so what we're going to do here is going to take a quick look at Bitcoin and see what's going on. Let's go ahead and jump right into the traditional kind of the starting point here, Bitcoin dominance. And as I like to kind of talk about this here, when Bitcoin dominance increases, the obvious fact of the matter is that the altcoins will typically decrease, right? So in other words, when money comes into Bitcoin, the price goes up, which we've seen so far. The price of altcoins will kind of stay stagnant for a moment. And then once Bitcoin dominance starts coming down here, like we saw in the last week, roughly, that kind of stimulates altcoins, right? Because profits being taken from Bitcoin going over to altcoins. So that whole process of that whole rinse and repeat of profit taking and applying it to altcoins and sell altcoins for Bitcoin, it kind of keeps going back and forth. That being said, we're still rejecting out of this area here, and with Bitcoin dominance being high right now and the price of Bitcoin coming down, that's typically a bearish sign. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There's a good chance we could see further downside. We keep retesting that 27.9 mark, and I think it's just a matter of time before 27.6 and or possibly even lower is acquired. Now we'll look at other charts too to kind of identify, but there's a key level support at 25,300 that I still recall having that open. Main reason I know is because I have a limit order set for that mark and it hasn't triggered yet. I'm excited to see if that gets filled. Okay, taking a look quickly at the CME futures. Just a note here, we have a previous futures here as well, CME gap, but keep in mind it was kind of previously gapped as well. So to me, I'm not super concerned with that one. I don't really foresee 20,500 happening. If so, I'll eat my words, and we'll go ahead and add to our position to lower right. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But for right now, the key takeaway is the CME gap is filled here officially, and we're looking good there. Now, what we want to look at too as well is basically the volume on the index here now. Pardon the bright red indication here. It's kind of just driving the point home that we were kind of stuck under a resistance level for one of my charts. Again, these are all charts that I sent on my Twitter, so make sure you just go ahead and check that out. But when it comes to the volume here, this is important to note. We are starting to see the volume taper off, okay? And as the volume tapers off and gets below this moving average, that creates somewhat of a resistance wall, and a lot of times the price action cannot go much further when it's stuck under that amount of volume, okay? So we need more volume to effectively be able to recover from here. The fact that volume is just dissipating is a big sign, okay? So that to me is a sign, kind of proof in the pudding, if you will, depending on where you come from. It kind of just shows that, hey, there's a good chance we could see the price action continue lower. Furthermore, too, High Block Capital will also reiterate this and reaffirm this, because we can see Fear and Greed Index is coming down, basically just implying there's more fear in the market as we continue to drop down. We are in the neutral area, which isn't terrible, but if we lose this support here at about 28K, I think there's a good chance we're going to have a lot more fear than we originally liked. Less sells than buys from yesterday. In other words, people are still trying to sell, but not as much. In other words, that shift in momentum is changing. That whole bullish momentum at 30,000 plus, all that hype is kind of dissipating, and essentially we see a lot less shorts. Furthermore, too, open interest is down as well, and liquidation for longs is up. You combine those two together, that's a recipe for further downside. So to me, there's a tremendous amount of reasons why the price should drop here, and that we are preparing as a community to effectively take more shorts. Okay, so keep that in mind. Got my eyes on, obviously, the standard Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there's a few other shorts as well. But taking a look here at this, and keep this in mind, this is a 1 month time frame. But in the last, just say 15 days or so, we can see a tremendous amount of volume again at about 27,400. So there's a good chance we lose 28,000, that 27.4 will be a good little candle wick. I'll at the very least come down to there. Keep in mind, of course, right about 31,200 is resistance too. These are liquidation levels. Keep in mind, these are also positions that are open that haven't been closed yet. Okay, so keep in mind, you could have limit orders at this area that were canceled or are still open. That counts in this regard. So that being said, if you kind of look at the big picture, we have a lot more areas that need to get filled too, but these are just areas in which people are putting their limit orders on, such as myself, 25,300 right there. That's where I'm looking for a good entry for a long. Okay, again, I'm not saying we're going to get there just yet, but we are trending towards that. And as confirmation continues to reaffirm itself, we're going to be in that position. Now, let's take a quick look at open interest too, because this is important. We took a look at this yesterday. They were really close together. I'm very interested to find out if they are spread apart here now with our longs. So if we take a look at the longs, there's the most amount of longs at 28,200. They are currently underwater. Second most amount is right here at about 28,000 even. So a lot of late longs are coming in at 28,000. There's also some shorts, I would venture to guess, right there. Yep, right there at that lowest point, expecting the price to drop at about the 27.8 mark. Okay, so longs and shorts are kind of right there at that 27, 28 range, and there's a great chance we could see the price break down further. I'm speculating we're going to see that probably very soon, likely today or tomorrow, and I would say again a retest of the range just below. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there. All right, so we're on the right chart here. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. Big picture, we want to go ahead and update our Fibonacci retracement levels a little bit there. We can take a peek at Elliott wave here and kind of see, it's kind of the same stuff, right? In other words, it's basically telling us that the price action, if we find this to be the bottom, right? We don't know that's the bottom yet, but if this is the immediate bottom on this downtrend here, because we had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first wave pattern fulfill itself, then we are looking at a potential bounce upwards of 29,700, 29.4, or 29,000 even. So the probability of the price breaking through 30,000 on this next leg up is pretty low. And the main reason why is because we have an ABC pattern that is very common retracement when the price action essentially hits that fifth most highest point. That being said, it's basically creating lower lows and lower highs in the overall sense of things. Right now, we're establishing our very first lower low, and ideally, the very first lower low shouldn't be below 26,500. If so, we have another conversation. But just to touch on it here, let's go ahead and extend this out a little further. This is that 25,300 mark, a previous resistance level, both here and here. Okay, so a very strong resistance level. In fact, you could even argue that we had a very large cup and handle pattern before the price broke out. Okay, so again, you can kind of see that there, but generally speaking, I would love to get filled at 25,300. because I think that's a really good juicy price point. I would say that that's probably the most immediate bottom for us. Anything lower than 25.3, I'd be surprised with. Obviously, stranger things can happen. This is cryptocurrency after all, but generally speaking, that's what we're looking at. Another thing to identify too, excuse me for clearing my throat, is the daily. The daily RSI. This is concerning me greatly because we didn't get that bounce off of 50 on the RSI. Instead, we just broke straight through and we continued lower. Now, in Bitcoin's history, anytime we go below 50 on the RSI, a lot of stuff can happen. Like we saw this massive dip like this here previously. And I say massive, it may not have been super massive, but that was 15%. It's quite a lot when you think about it. So just say, heaven forbid, we lose that area, we dip down here, we could see it get a 9 or 10% correction to 25.3. Okay, so keep that in mind. I would keep some limit orders open. We'll look at dollar cost average targets too. We can go ahead and flip this around here technically and kind of see what areas might be ideal. And we can kind of see here, once again, kind of reiterating that support there at about 27,000. So 27 even, as well as 26.5 are the two most key levels where we could see the price wick down to. And obviously 25.8 for the third and final one there. Okay. So again, that's just, if you reverse Fibonacci retracement levels and the price continues to go past its 0 point, that's essentially what we just did that for. Okay, so that's kind of where that comes into play, but big picture, RSI under 50, MACD diverging. Did we lose? I think we lost 20-day SMA. Yeah, we did it a couple of days ago. So the only saving grace we have right now is this 27,000 mark, roughly, or 26.8 with the 50-day simple moving average. So to me, I don't like to take trades on hopes and prayers. I don't know about you. Has that been working for you? It doesn't work well for me or for anyone that I know of, right? You can get lucky a few times, but you're gonna get stuck. And the key takeaway here is that try not to just to take a long position. While I have been dollar cost averaging every large, every 1,000 mark, so I dollar cost average at 30,000, 29,000, 28,000. I'll continue to do that at every common denominator. But my pride point would be 25,300. That's exactly where I want to get filled. That's going to be a larger bag for me. All right, anyways, regards to that fact, on the 4 hour, we can see that we are probably overextended here, which we certainly are, and this shouldn't be happening. We should be at a 9 and the price should have bounced, but it doesn't work that way. That's how cryptocurrency is. You got to recognize that when things start running, a lot of other things factor in. That's why we look at the big picture and a lot of other macro and just back-end stuff, the level 2 data that you cannot see on the charts. It's important to recognize. Everything else is screaming the further downside right now. And again, it's difficult to want to short the bottom because you're basically doing that right now if you were to. But it makes a lot more sense that the price action is going to continue lower. But it would make also more sense for the price to kind of consolidate at this area first before it does. So we're hoping for that. But again, no guarantees on that regard. If you can take a look here at the 4 hour, it does paint a slightly different picture. It does kind of imply that we have seen our higher low and higher high. Sorry, correction. Our lower low and our lower high. Okay, and we're still searching for our final. So there's a chance that the price comes back down here or goes, maybe even right now. This could very well be the bottom, right? The price could bounce off and take off from here. There's no guarantees, but it definitely looks like there's a lot of reasons why it should continue lower. There's also a lot of strange stuff going on too. If you take a look at our Twitter, for example, there was a wallet holding 1128 Bitcoin, 1,128 Bitcoin, roughly 31 million worth. It just activated after 10 years of dormancy, right? So when things like that start happening and the price is coming down, do you really think they're going to be transferring money to an exchange to buy more? It seems more sensible they're going to probably sell. And there's a lot of different things you want to try to look at. Again, this is all available on my Twitter. But generally speaking, I think that it's important to kind of stay abreast with these things because these are all fundamental catalysts that cause the price action to continue lower. And here we are, just under 28,000 now at this point. So we'll see what happens, but keep this in mind. We are diverging quite significantly on the 4 hour. We do have a convergence on the horizon, but it's no guarantees that's going to occur. And then with us being under 30 on the RSI, I would possibly recommend waiting because it's fairly rare for the price to go too far below. But once again, absolutely, definitely can happen, right? So just keep in mind, 30 should be working as a support level here on the RSI, but now that we've broken below it, if anything could happen. So be very careful and cautious if you're trading right now, but I am still leaning more towards just the overall sense of the price coming down. It may not come down right now. It might actually come back up and bounce off this Fibonacci here at about 28.6, 28.5, but nonetheless, it's still moving down and wants to kind of continue lower. All right, let's wrap things up here. Sorry, getting a little wordy here. TD sequential, not really a lot of signs here on the 1 hour. We can probably see that the hourly Ichimoku cloud is telling us that the price action is still diverging. Conversion line wants to intersect with the baseline. That could be a sign to kind of close your position. But as you can see here, if we continue to retest these lows here, they're just going to break and continue lower. I mean, we saw it happen a few times before. Right there at about 28,600, the price wicked down 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then boom, it dropped below. That's what gave us our nice 4th and 5th profit target as a community. So again, all good things here in the sense of the fact that the price is going to continue lower. I think there's a great chance of that. And that if you want to consider shorting into it, I would feel comfortable saying that it's pretty safe to do that right now. But again, 28 could be the bottom. You never truly know. I don't want to give you any certainty here, but again, from a technical standpoint and everything we see on the back end, there's no reason why the price won't continue to run to the downside. That to me seems very realistic and very it just seems like it's par for the course right now. Once again, we are overextended though on a few different time frames, and we got to recognize that a pullback could happen. But based on Elliott wave and a handful of Fibonacci retracement levels, I think 29,000 is probably a best case scenario if the price were to rally back up, and then I would say to short from there. Okay, so just be careful in what you do here, but that's kind of where we're at here. All in all, good stuff if you ask me, because we have been doing very well as a community. Just to quickly note on this, our most recent take profit target was 78% in 2 days, and we hit all 5 profit targets for our short from 30,500 down to 28K. So again, are we going to short from 28K to a lower price point? There's a good chance of that. So again, I'm just going to wait a moment longer for confirmation, but honestly, it looks like it wants to run, so I might just have to go ahead and grab some signals here soon. Thanks again so much for joining me here. Obviously, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCash.tech is a site. Looks kind of like this here. Furthermore, as well, obviously, please just do us a favor. Help us grow our Twitter community. It's a really awesome way to be able to kind of communicate with our our members, our subscribers, etc. We are growing quite rapidly here, and it's really nice to be able to have that. And again, you have some free promotional memberships for our Crypto Cash Premium as well. So thanks again for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.